Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. The House Prosecution Panel hit Vice President Sara Duterte's response to the Senate Impeachment Court summons. It says the Vice President's earlier pronouncement of seeing a bloodbath in her impeachment trial is merely a rhetoric, as it now seeks a dismissal of the impeachment complaint filed against her. The panel says the defense failed to respond to the substance of the charges and instead tried to veer away from factual allegations by resorting to procedures and technicalities. Let's get on point with House Prosecution spokesperson Attorney Antonio Bucoy. Attorney Bucoy, thank you so much for your time. It's good to see you in person. Maraming salamat po sa inyo oras.
Thanks for the invitation.
All right, so
it's
first,
my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to find out, how did you get to be chosen as the spokesperson of the prosecution panel? How did you come into the picture, get into the picture?
Okay, before I was engaged, I've been invited to a few interviews, teleradio, and the like, as a resource person. And from all apparent indications, some of my friends in the private prosecution group saw me. And they recommended me to the panel of public prosecutors. So
who actually recommended you? Would you be able to tell us?
Right now, no, because the names of the private prosecutors have yet to be announced.
That's why I wanted to ask you, sino ho ba? Who will form part of the private prosecutors? Because we already know the defense team of the
Yes.
Vice President.
Yes.
We know the House Prosecution
Yes.
Panel. What about the private partners of the House Prosecution Panel? Who are they?
They're coming out shortly.
Why?
But they are seasoned litigators. They are men and women who believe in the crusade to end impunity and to enforce moral accountability.
Mm-hmm. Why the secrecy? Why have they not come out?
It's a matter of timing everything. We don't want to digress from the current focus and digress towards the personalities involved. So the purpose is to focus on the issues, focus on moving the impeachment forward. Secondary na yung ano eh.
Ganun ba sila ka-popular na madadigress ang topic
No naman,
at sa
because
kanila mapunta?
we want to ensure that we don't lose sight of the current issues.
All right.
But eventually they'll come out.
But these are guys we know. Are they familiar names?
I think so. I think so.
All right. Okay. Now, let's go to the reaction of the response of the House Prosecution Panel to the reply of the Vice President's
The answer.
defense. I heard you a while ago. How do you describe this?
You mean the answer ad cautelam?
Yes.
Okay, ad cautelam is a Latin phrase that means for caution. This is resorted to when you challenge or you question the authority of the court. There's really nothing in the rules of court that says ad cautelam, but that had been a practice. The closest to an ad cautelam is a special appearance. By special appearance, you appear in court to challenge the jurisdiction of the court for the reasons or grounds stated in the rules of court. Now, the ad cautelam means I'm entering my appearance, or we are entering our appearance, but we do not recognize your authority right now.
With caution. Kaya with caution.
So
Okay.
they're not waiving questioning, or they're not waiving anything. In fact, we do not recognize, we do not acknowledge your jurisdiction.
Hindi ho ba ikagagalit yon ng, let's say, ng impeachment court because they entered their appearance before the impeachment court, before the senators sitting as senator judges ad cautelam. Cautelam. Ibig sabihin po, ito po kami nagpapakita pero hindi with caution, pero hindi namin nire-recognize ang jurisdiction ninyo.
Hindi namin nire-recognize o hindi pa namin nire-recognize.
Hindi pa.
But this is the clincher. They entered the appearance, they filed an answer again ad cautelam, but they asked for relief. how can you avail of relief when you do not even recognize
The jurisdiction.
categorically the jurisdiction?
So that becomes a little bit of an irony, I guess.
That's an irony, and it's an absurd situation.
But if they are saying, as they had mentioned in their summons na ad cautelam,
Answer ad cautelam.
so yun po, is that the right term?
Answer ad cautelam.
Would a reply, can't we use reply?
No.
Kailangan po answer ad cautelam.
Yes, because the responsive pleading to an answer is a reply, which the prosecution will file within 5 days from receipt.
Okay. Answer from the Vice President's side, reply from the House prosecution.
That's right.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the defense's arguments in their answer ad cautelam. Let's start with this. It is void ab initio as it violated the one-year bar rule. Of course, this talks about 1987 Constitution, Article 11, Section 5. No impeachment proceeding shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a period of 1 year. So ito po yung kanilang unang argument on it is void ab initio. Plain and simple, it says there was a violation of the rule. Okay, how does the House plan to respond to this? Although, to be fair, I spoke to Congressman Joel Chua and Congresswoman Bel Zamora about this, and they had explained it to me, but please feel free. Sir, go ahead.
The key word here is initiation. When is an impeachment complaint initiated? It is initiated when the plenary has included it, when the speaker has included it in the agenda of the plenary, and when the plenary transmits this to the House Committee on Justice.
Yeah.
There was never an initiation because none of the first three impeachment complaints ever transmitted to the House Committee on Justice.
All right.
On the other hand,
Initiated yan.
That's initiated.
And that's also some of the response or decisions rather of the Supreme Court.
that is a doctrine that had been interpreted by the Supreme Court in a long line of cases.
Okay.
On the other hand, the fourth impeachment complaint that we will call the fourth, which is the one pending now, it need not be referred to the Committee on Justice because under the rules, if an impeachment complaint is endorsed by 1/3 of all the members of Congress, there is no need to transmit this to the House Committee on Justice because the complaint itself becomes the articles of impeachment.
Yeah.
So
it turns into that. The
it turns
articles
into
of
that because
impeachment.
the complaint is verified. The requirement is the endorsers should also verify the articles of impeachment. What does verify mean? To execute an oath, to verify it. Why an oath? Because it dispenses with the formality that we affirm the truthfulness and the correctness and the constitutionality.
Which they supposedly did.
Yes.
Okay.
No, not supposedly, which they have done.
That's what, at least in the many interviews we've had, they were saying that they did this. I just want to read part of that article, which, Attorney, you were talking about. Again, it's accountability of public officers. It says here that in case the verified complaint or resolution of impeachment is filed by at least 1/3 of all members of the House, the same shall constitute the articles of impeachment. That's exactly what you're talking about. I want to move on to one part here. I hope we can put this up on the screen because one issue here is this. The 10 session days. This could pose a problem, might not, and this is what Congresswoman Bell was answering. It says here, a verified complaint for impeachment may be filed by any member of the House of Representatives or by any citizen upon a resolution of endorsement by any member thereof, which shall be, this is the phrase that is important, which shall be included in the order of business within 10 session days and refer to the proper committee within 3 session days thereafter. So this is something that possibly needs to be clarified by the House members because there were 3 previous impeachment complaints, December 2, December 4, and then December 19 before
That's
the
right.
fourth impeachment complaint
That's right.
made it to the Senate last February 5, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a problem here?
No.
With the 10 session days?
They complied with the 10 session day requirement. Pasok yan.
How so? Kasi December 2, December 4, December 19.
We're talking
sir.
of session days.
Understandable, yes.
So, you exclude the holidays that they are not in session, you exclude the recess, they're not in session.
You exclude Thursday and Friday because they're not in
Yes,
session.
they're not in session. So, it's session days. We looked at we verified with the records of the plenary, and they're all within the 10 session days.
So the December 2, the first impeachment complaint that was filed, still is falls within the 10 session days that it's supposed
Yes,
to be.
all three. All three.
And the House is ready to prove this.
Oh yeah,
Because it might be hard, sir, no?
no, but that's water under the bridge now. Okay? Why? Once the impeachment complaint or the articles of impeachment is transmitted to the Senate, there is now a presumption of regularity and legality and constitutionality. That's a resolution adopted by the previous, that was a previous resolution by the previous impeachment court during the time of the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona. And that is called law of precedence, stare decisis. There's a basis now for this impeachment court to follow. But the issue now here is they did not follow that previous ruling.
But if that is the defense, that there is a presumption of regularity,
Yes.
why did the Senate, sitting as an impeachment court, want a certification from the House on two things? Number one, that they did not violate the one-year rule,
Yes.
and that the 20th Congress is ready and willing to continue on with this impeachment. If there's a presumption of regularity, bakit po hinihingi pa to ng impeachment court sa House?
Okay. What they did was they said, we are returning this to Congress. They are not ordering the prosecution. They're ordering the House. Okay? A co-equal body of the legislature. They're ordering the House.
But it's not a co-equal now. Once they are in an impeachment court, they are a court of its own. It's not co-equal with the House.
On matters of impeachment.
Yes,
Okay?
correct.
Then you order the prosecutors. What the prosecutors could do is secure this certification. But that certification alone, by itself, is a surplusage. It's a surplusage.
What is a surplus?
It is a surplusage because the certification that you're asking for is staring you in the eye. The articles itself, that's verified. The House, the Senate cannot require the House to explain. They're co-equal.
But it's asking the House to certify that they did not violate the one-year rule.
Yes, okay. We're willing to look past that so as not to bemuddle the issue. That's why I can say that we are filing a submission
Are you?
tomorrow.
Okay.
They are presenting the House resolution.
So does that mean that you are going to respond to the certification that the impeachment court was asking? Finally.
Yes, just to get moving.
Okay. Because there was a deferral of acceptance, hindi ho ba?
Yes, but we want to get this moving. Now that the answer has been filed, we want to get this moving.
Okay. So the answer will be submitted tomorrow, tama
No,
ho
the
ba?
answer, the submission.
Rather, the certification.
Yes, but
will
we call it
be-
a submission attaching the resolution of the House.
I see. So it will be submitted to the impeachment court tomorrow formally.
Correct.
Because there was already a resolution a couple of days back.
Correct.
All right. What about the second certification that they
Oh,
wanted?
excuse me, but I wish to add that the impeachment court could very well have taken judicial notice of the House resolution.
Yeah.
That's an
I
exception.
heard that argument too.
That's an exception to the rule. So, I just wanted to add that.
Pero para to be sure,
Yes.
isasubmit nyo na lang po.
Yes,
What
para
about
wala
the
ng
second
away.
one, sir?
We cannot
Attorney,
comply
yung
right now.
20th,
We cannot
because
comply.
nasa 19th
Correct.
pa rin. Okay.
Correct.
So what happens?
But if I may add, again, if I may add, you need not ask the lower house if they are affirming the prosecution of the pursuing the articles of impeachment. The House had already finished their constitutional duty
When they forwarded the articles
when
of
they
impeachment to the
transmitted
Senate.
the articles. There is no such thing as withdrawing it. That would be unconstitutional for the House to withdraw it.
So why will you respond to that?
Just-
Sorry, to be clear, you're not pala responding
No,
to that
we haven't-
because nasa 19th Congress
Yes.
pa lang. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but if this will be, again, a stumbling block,
In the
we'll set it
20th
aside.
Congress. Okay.
Let's move this forward.
So if it's going to be a stumbling block, pagdating po ng 20th Congress, willing na naman po ang Kongreso to hand over, submit
We'll
a
bend over
resolution
backwards
or
just to get this
certificate.
moving.
Okay, so at least you will not be blamed for
Yes.
stalling.
No.
Because now it's a question of who's really stalling
Yes.
the trial.
Yes.
All right, so that we have that. All right, we're going to talk about more of this, and of course the issue with the Ombudsman, where the Ombudsman has asked the Vice President and her defense team to answer allegations of graft malversation of public funds that was submitted, a committee report submitted by the House Committee on Good Government to the Office of the Ombudsman. We'll be taking a short break. We'll be back with House Prosecution spokesperson, Attorney Antonio Bucoy. Stay tuned. This is On Point. You're watching On Point, still with us, House Prosecution spokesperson, Attorney Antonio Bucoy. I'll do a run through of this. The defense also saying that there are no statements of ultimate facts in the fourth impeachment complaint, stripped off its factual and legal conclusions. Nothing more but a scrap of paper. Dadagdag ko na po ito, being laden with conclusions of facts and law, clear abuse of the impeachment process. What is going to be the plan of the House Prosecution Panel in this regard, knowing that you have 5 days to respond, which will fall on a Saturday, which will possibly extend to a Monday, June 30. By that time, patapos na po ang 19th Congress.
I can safely say that we can file it on Friday. We're not going to wait until the last minute, as in the case of the answer ad cautelam. We're ready to respond by filing it on Friday. And we will deal with all these issues in that reply. Okay? Suffice it to say that suffice it to say that they called this a mere scrap of paper because there was no recitation of ultimate facts. That rule has been amended in 2019. Now what is required are two: allegation of ultimate facts and evidentiary facts, which we have done.
Ultimate and evidentiary facts.
Evidentiary
Okay.
fact. That's the new requirement.
All right.
Which we have done in all the allegations of in support of each and every article of impeachment.
What is an ultimate and evidentiary fact?
Ultimate fact is the material facts that constitutes the offense. Material facts, relevant facts.
Such as? Like in this case.
Okay, in this case, she received the confidential funds. Okay, these confidential funds could not be accounted for. Therefore, she malversed. You allege the ultimate facts. It depends on what the allegation is.
Okay.
Evidentiary facts is required because you can allege everything, but you don't have evidentiary facts to back up the ultimate facts. Then you're wasting the people's time. You're wasting the court's time. So there is now a dual requirement, which we complied with, and we were very mindful of those requirements.
Could you give me an example of the evidentiary fact?
Evidentiary facts, the appropriation, the receipt of the funds, and then the disbursement of the funds. Diyan pumapasok yung mga yatos, etc., etc.
Doon na po yan sa
Yes.
evidentiary.
And
Hindi siya ultimate.
It is the evidentiary fact in support of the ultimate fact.
Got it. It is almost a sub. The evidentiary are the
the substance.
Yeah, the substance
Right.
of the, okay. And you mentioned, attorney, that you will file a reply, tama po, no?
Correct.
Reply, answer po yung kanila, reply yung sa inyo by Friday. So what happens after that? Because June 30, tapos na po ang 19th
Yes.
Congress.
Yes. But mind you, the impeachment court doesn't go on recess. It doesn't go on recess. So, tuloy-tuloy yan. The impeachment court subsists. So, the next move is, we will move for pre-trial. And we will ask the court to set the trial dates.
After Friday? Or on Friday?
No. After.
After Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Kahit na dahil nga getting ready for the 20th
Yes.
Congress, it doesn't stop the impeachment
It doesn't
court from
stop the
moving on.
impeachment process.
So, when do you plan to ask for a schedule of the pretrial?
We're going to file a motion to that effect.
Okay.
After we shall have filed the reply.
Can we expect it at least very soon?
Yes.
Yeah. So possibly maybe next week.
Yes. We're not going to engage in foot dragging.
Would there be a problem with a motion that you plan to file now that by the time that the 19th Congress has ended and the 20th Congress is about to begin, in relation, attorney, to the certification that they want, the Senate Impeachment Court, that the 20th Congress will pursue this?
I think there won't be a problem on our part with reference to complying with the second condition that was imposed by the impeachment court.
Okay.
That won't be a problem.
All right. All right. Very briefly also, I wanted to talk to you about the issue with the Ombudsman. So the Ombudsman has actually asked the Vice President and others to respond to the complaint. What is it? Initiated by the House?
No.
How did this come about? Because was there a complaint filed? That's my question.
No.
Or did the House simply submit their findings on the Committee on Good Government to the Office of the Ombudsman, to which the Office of the Ombudsman, motu proprio, asked for a reply from the Vice President?
The mandate of the Ombudsman under Republic Act 6770 is to be the disciplinarian of both elective and appointive officials, local government officials, including government-owned and controlled corporations. So, as a matter of practice, investigations conducted by the committees in Congress are furnished the Ombudsman, because the Ombudsman, like you said, can motu proprio initiate an investigation. In fact, anonymous complaints are entertained. And this would go through a field investigation office.
Officer, yeah.
Yes, field investigation office. Now, in the case of the exercise of disciplining these officers that I enumerated, the exceptions are, number one, impeachable officers, such as the Vice President. It's an exception. Number two, members of Congress. They have their own machinery to discipline members of Congress. And number three, the judiciary. Because, again, the Supreme Court has its own machinery to deal with erring judges.
What does that mean?
They have their own
Yes, I understand.
methods of disciplining. Okay. Prescinding from that, the only time that the Ombudsman can investigate an impeachable officer is if the purpose is to file a verified complaint for impeachment, if warranted by the preliminary investigation.
A verified complaint for impeachment?
If the purpose for the preliminary investigation is to file a verified complaint for impeachment, if the investigation warrants it. That's the only time that the Ombudsman can conduct a preliminary investigation of a impeachable officer. Now, in this case, the House of Representatives had already exercised its authority as the sole initiator of impeachment by virtue of the transmission or transmittal of the articles of impeachment. The Ombudsman should no longer conduct a preliminary investigation because the
There
House
is a
itself,
verified complaint.
the House
Tapos na.
itself had filed the impeachment complaint. So there's nothing more to investigate. This would only be a monkey's wrench that will, again, muddle the impeachment proceedings.
So this was a deliberate attempt, that's what you're saying, to muddle the issue.
Well,
Because you're
looks.
saying the only way the ombudsman will do this if there is a need for a verified complaint for the purposes of impeachment.
If the preliminary investigation would warrant a verified complaint for
yeah.
impeachment.
Yeah, but there's
meron na eh.
already transmitted
Yes.
the articles of impeachment.
So the impeachment court had already assumed jurisdiction. So he should now desist.
Hands off.
Correct.
So what is going to happen now that the Vice President has been asked to reply within 10 days on issues of, from what I read, it was plunder, graft, malversation of public funds?
We're going to communicate with the ombudsman and remind him
That.
that he's not supposed to.
When do you plan to do that?
ASAP.
Isn't the ombudsman about to retire?
That's another factor. Is this a final act of helping? Because he's had a history. He sat on complaints against the Dutertes. If you will recall, he previously said there was no threat made by the Vice President against the life. He did not consider that live streaming a threat. Second, on the malversation, he said there's no basis to investigate her. So, you have to treat this with a huge bag of salt.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what kind of pleading, manifestation, document is the House planning to submit to the Office of the Ombudsman, basically to tell him that, what, you have no jurisdiction over this already because it's already with the impeachment court?
Yes. It could be a motion, it could be a manifestation. It doesn't matter how we label it.
And has this been done in the past to write the ombudsman, file a manifestation?
This has never been done with an impeachable officer. This is the first time. We're treading through unexplored territory here. This is all a first.
All right. So we're going to we'll wait, Attorney, for the response, rather, the reply of the House prosecution panel this Friday, and then possibly the week after that or a couple of days even after that would be the pleading to the impeachment court on a schedule for the pre-trial.
Yes.
Attorney Antonio Bucoy, it's a pleasure to have you. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thanks for having me.
Speak to you again.
Sure.
Thank you. That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.